Oh, hello there. My name's Professor Hohen. So after 3 solo challenge videos, I thought I'd switch it up a little bit. After all, there must be other limits I can set on my team to make it more difficult to complete a Pokemon game, and I think I've found one. For this run, I'll be trying to complete Pokemon Red while always burnt. So, how would this work? By using my emulator's built-in Gameshark, I can use codes to make all 6 of my Pokemon have the burnt status all the time. If you want to play along, I'll add these codes in the description below. So, why will this challenge be difficult? As we're always burnt, we'll constantly take damage every turn, and it means that physical attacks will only do half as much damage as normal. In Generation 1, physical attacks are normal, fighting, poison, ground, flying, bug, rock, and ghost, so I'll need to try and avoid using these types of attack. Not exactly easy when most of the early routes are littered with these typings, and most early Pokemon have to rely on normal type moves to deal damage. Healing at a Pokemon Center will still return my Pokemon to full health, but it won't heal the burn status. I guess one benefit though is that I can't be paralysed or poisoned. As this is the first time doing this challenge, I'm not going to impose a rule where I can't heal in battle. So, what are the rules? My Pokemon must always have the burnt status, I can't heal it. Actually, I don't even think I can with the cheats activated. Other than that, we play the game as normal, so we can catch Pokemon, teach TMs and use items in battle. And finally, no glitches or exploits. Well, except applying burnt states to our Pokemon of course. I'm recording this before I start the challenge, so I have no idea how this will go. Leave a like below if you think we can do it. With all that being said, let's find out if we can beat Pokemon Red while our Pokemon are always burnt. We choose Bulbasaur and name it First Degree. There were a few reasons I chose Bulbasaur. First, it has a slightly higher base stat total than Squirtle and Charmander, which includes a higher special attack. Second, it learns moves like Leech Seed and Mega Drain, so we can at least restore some of our HP lost because of the burn status to keep on top of health management and reduce our dependency on potions. Finally, it has a type advantage over both Brock and Misty early game. We jump into our rival battle and get absolutely destroyed. I didn't expect to win. We're losing health from the burn every turn and doing nothing with tackle. Using the potion here would probably be a waste. With that done, I try to grind a few levels just outside Pallet Town. It goes terribly, to be honest, because tackle does so little, even against level 3 Pidgeys and Rattatas. We have to keep chipping away and hope that we don't lose too much HP from the burn or their attacks. If we get to around 5 HP and it's likely we won't win the battle, I just flee, head back to my mum and restart this process again. After 15 minutes of this, I go up just one level, get bored and go and deliver Oak's parcel. It's so refreshing that when I finally reach the Pokemart, I don't have to balance my budget. I invest most of my money in Pokeballs as status healing items are useless in this run. One annoyance in this gen though is that you can't actually buy potions until you hit Pewter City, so I make sure to pick up the hidden potion in Viridian City and from the Mart Assistant. I capture a few Pokemon including Pidgey which we call Scorch. This makes grinding easier as I can use Scorch to weaken the wild Pokemon enough that Bulbasaur can come in and finish them off. It speeds up grinding as I can actually beat Pokemon comfortably now. We eventually hit level 7 and learn Leech Seed. Unfortunately, Bulbasaur learns Vine Whip at a later level than Charmander and Squirtle learn their first moves, but at least this helps to negate the damage we receive each turn from the burn. We also pick up a Nidoran and call it Oven. At level 12, I get fed up with grinding as I'm already 2 hours into this run. I need 255 experience to reach level 13, so I decide to challenge our rival. We're able to land a Leech Seed, but Pidgey uses Sand Attack. Annoyingly, because of its flying typing, we only recover 1 HP each turn, while we lose 2 HP from the burn. I keep using Growl to reduce the power of Gust, which is normal in this gen, but Pidgey keeps using Sand Attack to reduce our accuracy further. Because we're missing quite a few attacks now, I tactically switch to Scorch, which goes down from 2 attacks, but it means that we can send an Oven without it losing HP. We're able to land a couple of Leers, which will increase the damage Bulbasaur's tackle does. We switch back to First Degree and 2 attacks are enough to put Pidgey down. Charmander is out next and I switch back to Oven to use Leer. We only managed to get 1 attack in, but it's done its job. I land a Leech Seed and use Growl to lower Charmander's attack. We get dangerously close to fainting and decide to use one of our potions. Eventually, Charmander is only doing 1 HP of damage each turn with Scratch, so we go on the attack. It takes several tackles, but we're able to secure the win, and that means that it doesn't take long for us to learn Vine Whip after a bit more grinding. We also catch a Spearow and Pikachu, which will give us some coverage against flying types and the bug Pokemon we'll come up against in Viridian Forest. Spearow has Peck, which gives it an edge over Pidgey as Gust as normal in this gen. Peck's damage is still halved because of the burn, but because it's super effective against bug it means it does normal damage, so it doesn't take long to grind to level 9, meaning we're strong enough to comfortably get past the bug trainers in the forest. So, let's see how we get on with Brock. I forgot that I still had Pikachu in first place, so I have to use my first turn to switch to Bulbasaur. Thankfully, Geodude doesn't hit hard. A single Vine Whip is enough to take down both Geodude and Onix. Yes, it was that simple. In fact, the trainer before Brock actually gave us a greater challenge. With that done, we sell TM Bide and pick up a couple of escape ropes, more potions and a few Pokeballs. Getting to Mount Moon is more time consuming than difficult, as it takes several moves to knock out our opponents, meaning we have to return to the Poké Center after every 1 to 2 battles to heal up, as we're still taking quite a bit of damage from burn. We're now on Mount Moon, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but for once I'm happy to be swarmed by Zubats, as they go down in 1 or 2 Thunder Shocks each, so we take this opportunity to grind Pikachu to level 13. Mount Moon is probably the easiest section of the run so far, as we have a type coverage over most of the Pokemon here. Pikachu for the flying Pokemon, Bulbasaur for the rock and ground typings, and Spearow for the grass Pokemon. It's almost like I planned this out. With 2 Pokemon that have an advantage over water types, I decided to take a stab at Misty. A Thunder Shock from Pikachu isn't enough to knock out Staryu, so we take a bit of burn damage. Misty uses X Defend, which is a useless item as it will do nothing for it in this battle, as we finish it off with a second attack. Out next is Starmie, which outspeeds us and lands a critical Bubble Beam, knocking us out in a single attack. I throw out First Degree, we land a Vine Whip, but not before it lands a critical tackle. We both attack each other for a second turn. On the next 3 turns I use Potions, as a critical attack would probably finish us off, and the rest of our team isn't strong enough to win this fight. This isn't working, we're healing, but Starmie is doing just as much damage, so I throw out Scorch, which goes down as quick as it came out. I'm able to throw out Oven and use its turn to heal Bulbasaur. On the next turn, Oven goes down too. I choose Incinerate next, and go for a Growl, lowering Starmie's attack, but it won't lower the attack of Bubble Beam, which knocks me out. I finally decide to use a Leech Seed, so we're at least negating the burn damage, but we miss. I switch back to Vine Whip on the next 2 turns as Starmie retaliates with Tackle. Thankfully, it's no longer doing as much damage. Our last Vine Whip is a critical, ending the battle. It wasn't a comfortable win, but we'll take it. We make our way to Nugget Bridge to tackle the north section of Cerulean. Oh, and the rival's here too! His Pidgeotto was out first, and we get extremely lucky. Our first Thunder Shock only does half its health worth of damage, while it misses a Sand Attack. Our second Thunder Shock doesn't knock it out, but it paralyses it, forcing it to miss its second attack. Before we're able to knock it out, however, it lands a Quick Attack. Abra is out next, and it only knows Teleport, so it's not a threat, but our special attacks don't do a lot of damage, meaning we take 3 turns worth of burn damage. Rattata is out next, and Thundershock only brings its health down to the halfway mark, so it survives and knocks us out with a Hyper Fang. I send out First Degree, which finishes it off with Vine Whip. Finally, Charmander comes out, which knows Ember now, so I opt to use Leech Seed, so we're at least draining its health each turn. At this point of the run, I should point out that the HP we restore from Leech Seed is less than the damage we take from Burn each turn, so each turn we're still losing health even when Charmander uses Growl or Leer. This battle is weird. I focus on using Growl at the start of the battle to lower the damage we'll take from Scratch. It won't help with Ember, but at least it gives us a slight advantage as we can soak up the damage from its physical attacks. This plan pays off somehow, as Charmander only uses Ember once, opting to attack with Scratch and waste some turns using Growl and Leer. The Team Rocket member at the end of Nugget Bridge makes me realise that we'll struggle when we get to the Silphco headquarters and Koga's gym, as we haven't got a Pokemon that can reliably take on poison types. So we catch an Abra in the patch of grass just after Nugget Bridge and call it Toasty. As we make our way to Bill's house, we take the opportunity to grind up our latest addition to the party, switching it in and out of battles to maximise experience gain. Oh, and did you know that Abra can learn a variety of TMs including Seismic Toss? To this day, I thought it was like Magikarp and couldn't learn TMs. Toasty evolves before we claim the SS ticket from Bill, meaning not only do we have a Pokemon that can reliably handle poison types, but also fighting Pokemon as well, as Spearow's Peck has become less and less effective against them as this challenge has gone on. When we arrive in Vermilion City, we collect the Old Rod and capture a Magikarp which we call Kindle, as we'll be slowly helping this Pokemon to evolve into the much more powerful Gyarados, which will give us access to water and ice type moves. Before we head to the SSN, I sell our unused items and pick up repels. In Generation 1, repels work by preventing wild Pokemon with a lower level than the first Pokemon of the party from appearing. Using this, we're able to force an encounter with a level 31 Dugtrio, which we call Burn Burn. You'll see why once it's on screen in battle. It will suffer from reduced attack because of the burn, but it will be super effective against electric Pokemon, in particular the next gym. I complete SSN quickly as there aren't many useful items. Normally I'd pick up the TM Body Slam, but it's not exactly useful in this run. On our way to the captain, we bump into our rival. Once again, Pidgeotto is out first, and Pikachu comes close to knocking it out, but is KO'd first through a combination of Gust and Quick Attack. To be fair, we did have to switch into Pikachu as we're still switch training Magikarp throughout this match. We finish it off with a confusion from Toasty. Out next is Raticate, so we use Dugtrio's dig to knock it out in a single shot. Kadabra is out next, and another dig from Burn Burn takes it out. His Charmander is now evolved, so I use Dugtrio to get a clean switch into first degree. Ember takes off a third of our health, and I retaliate with Vine-Whip, which does nothing. Still, it's more damage than Tackle would have done. Another Ember and Burn damage brings us close to fainting, and we land a Leech Seed. Charmeleon's AI is obviously improved as it uses yet another Ember to knock us out. I send in Toasty, and a Confusion does a respectable amount of damage. Charmeleon switches to physical attacks, probably because Kadabra's defense stat is so low. I guess the AI in Gen 1 isn't as dumb as I previously thought. A final critical Confusion finishes the match. We collect the HM cut, but not before we look into the captain's bin and see my Pokemon YouTube content. Getting to Lieutenant Surge is a doddle thanks to Burn Burn, one-shotting pretty much every trainer's Pokemon in the gym. Oh yeah, we one-shot all of Lieutenant Surge's Pokemon too. It's such a simple battle that I switch into Magikarp with each new Pokemon he sends out. I did a bit of digging, yes that was a pun, into why Dugtrio is so strong despite Burn halving its attack. Turns out Dugtrio has a 100 attack base stat, meaning it's in the top quarter of Pokemon for that stat. On our way to Rock Tunnel, I come across several trainers with grass Pokemon, and it's becoming obvious that Spearow is starting to fall behind in terms of usefulness, so from here on out, I pretty much don't use it. I need a fire Pokemon, but in Pokemon Red, if you don't choose Charmander, you can't get one until Route 7. By this point, the grinding of Magikarp is paid off as I'm able to use 2 rare candies we've collected, which makes our Kindle ignite into a Gyarados, which we teach Bubble Beam. Rock Tunnel isn't too difficult to navigate even in the dark, and between Gyarados and Ivysaur, the ground and rock Pokemon aren't a problem, but the normal and grass Pokemon are still giving us issues as we don't have any special attacks that deal a lot of damage, and we're starting to fall behind on levels, meaning battles aren't won in a single attack and we're taking plenty of burn damage. So, we're starting to burn through the stock of super potions that I purchased in Vermilion City. We bump into 3rd degree once again, this time in Lavender Tower. 2 Thundershocks from Pikachu is enough to take down its Pidgeotto. I use Incinerate Peck against Execute, and despite being super effective, it does next to nothing. Good job we'll be replacing it soon. Execute knocks it out, but we use Dig from Burn Burn to take it out. Gyarados is out next, and a Thunderbolt comes so close to taking it out. Gyarados uses Bite, doing a respectable amount of damage, but 2nd Thundershock finishes it off. His recently evolved Kadabra is out next, and I use Dig as Kadabra attempts to teleport away to save itself. It doesn't work, obviously, as the Dig takes it out in a single attack. Outlast is his Charmeleon. It misses Growl as we knock it out with a single critical Dig. As we can't complete Lavender Tower yet, I head to Celadon City and on the way try to catch a Growlithe. It's not simple as it's just a 10% encounter and it knows Raw so it can end the battle. When I do finally find one, I opt to just throw Great Balls until we get lucky. I decided to do this rather than evolving Eevee into Flareon simply because Arcanine has a better stat total and a higher special attack. Annoyingly, Growlithe doesn't learn Flamethrower until level 50, and we're unlikely to get to that level before the end of this challenge, so I grab a Firestone and evolve our Ember into an Arcanine. I also pick up the TM Ice Beam and a drink from the Celadon City department store. This lets me get past the guards and into Saffron City, where we pick up the TM Psychic and teach it to Kadabra. Okay, time for Erica. Victreebel is her first Pokemon, and Ember uses Ember, and the amount it does is just terrible, not even a quarter. It uses Wrap, and knowing I'm about to get locked into several rounds of burn and wrap damage, I decide to swap to Toasty, which takes a critical Razor Leaf, but survives. I use Psychic, which is super effective because of its poison typing, but still not strong enough to knock it out. A second Razor Leaf finishes us off. We send Ember back in, which finishes it off and grows to level 23. Ember does much more against Tangler, and 3 attacks is enough to take it down. It does manage to land 3 consecutive Constricts, but we're not at risk of being knocked out. Erica sends out Vileplume last, It outspeeds and uses Mega Drain, but it doesn't do much damage, but neither does our Ember. It changes tactics and uses Petal Dance. This, coupled with the burn damage every turn and how little damage we do with Ember, means we have to use a couple of super potions to stay in the fight. Eventually, we're able to inflict enough damage to finish it off. Our next priority is to storm Game Corner and give Team Rocket a good sorting to. Now that Toasty has Psychic, we rip through pretty much every Pokemon, as not only is Kadabra higher level, but our super effective moves mean we one-shot every poison and fighting Pokemon we come against. Giovanni follows in his Grunt's footsteps as we take down both Onyx and Rhyhorn with a single Bubble Beam each, and it only takes 2 more to finish his final Pokemon, Kangaskhan. With that done, we evolve Pikachu using a Thunderstone and complete Lavender Tower. There's not much to recap here. We've already beaten the rival, and our Gyarados and Kadabra are strong enough to beat everything without needing to worry about the burn damage both here and in the Silphco headquarters, so it doesn't take much effort until we stumble upon our rival, Third Degree. We send out Electrical against his Pidgeot, and we're able to knock off half its health, but thanks to Sand Attack, we miss back-to-back Thunderbolts, and we're in danger of fainting if we miss a third. So I swap to Kindle and take a bit of damage from Wing Attack. 2 Ice Beams are enough to finish off our rival's first Pokemon. We throw out Ember to tackle Execute. Even though it's super effective, Ember doesn't do a lot, but does leave it with a burn. It uses its next 2 turns to spam Reflect, which does nothing to help it as we land 2 Embers to bring it to the brink of death. Third Degree uses a potion, but it doesn't help it to withstand a final Ember to take it down. Gyarados is Third Degree's third Pokemon, so we switch back to Electrical. It uses Leer on its first turn as we land a Thunderbolt. Despite it being 4 times effective, it's still not strong enough to knock it out. Thankfully, Gyarados wastes its next turn with another Leer, so we're able to take it out without any stress. His 4th Pokemon is Alakazam, and this thing terrifies me. I switch to Incinerate. It won't survive an attack, but we can use our turn to heal Kindle. Confusion takes out Incinerate, but that's no surprise. Because of Alakazam's high special, our special attacks won't do much, and physical moves are out of the question because of Burn lowering our power. So I use Dragon Rage, which does more damage than I expect. Thankfully, Alakazam doesn't have a lot of HP, but neither do we have to take in a Psybeam. I have to heal on our next turn to make sure we survive, but Alakazam lands another Psybeam. There's no point trying to stall it out by healing, as it'll eventually land a critical hit anyway and knock us out. I pray we can land another attack before getting knocked out as Alakazam switches to Confusion and we survive with just 5 HP, enabling us to land another Dragon Rage, but the burn finally takes its toll. I switch into Toasty and I'm surprised that we outspeed, so we're able to use Psychic and knock it out. Outlast is Charizard. We outspeed this Pokemon too, but Psychic only does about half its health worth of damage. Thankfully, it uses Ember rather than a physical move, so we comfortably take it. We get some more good luck on the next turn, as Third Degree uses a potion, which I honestly don't know why, as it's a waste of turn and means we can use one final attack to finish off this rival battle. Our next mission is to boot Giovanni out of Silphco. 2 Thunderbolts take out Nidorino as he uses a guard spec. Okay, but we won't say no to something going our way. Kangaskhan is out next and misses a Comic Punch as we use another Thunderbolt. On its next turn, he uses another guard spec as we land a critical Thunderbolt. If you're not sure what guard spec does, it prevents Pokemon from having their stats lowered, so it's useless as we're not using the likes of Growl and Leer. Rhyhorn is Giovanni's 3rd Pokemon, and thankfully it's quad weak to water, meaning a single Bubble Beam is enough to finish it off. Outlast is Nidoqueen, which wastes a turn with Leer. We land a critical Bubble Beam, but it's not enough to finish this battle. However, we do lower its speed, meaning our next attack gets priority and ends the fight. While we're in Saffron City, we attempt Sabrina to get a gauge on how difficult this will be. I'm not going to give a blow-by-blow recap simply because this battle is a nightmare. Here Pokemon have brilliant special base stats, meaning our special attacks don't do anywhere near enough. It's a real struggle to even get to our Alakazam, only to get semi-soft locked I guess? Alakazam switches between attacking and spamming Recover. In Generation 1, opponent Pokemon have unlimited PP, meaning it can use Recover over and over again. In hindsight, I probably should have switched to Kindle and used Dragon Rage, but this didn't work against our rival's Alakazam, so I doubt it'll work against Sabrina's, which is a higher level. So, off to the Safari Zone we go. On the way, we take this opportunity to grind against some trainers on Cycling Road. Okay, so at the risk of being demonetised forever, does anyone else notice the biker's belt looks like an upside down Bellsprout with something in its mouth? Like, I can't be the only one seeing this. Here, let me flip it for you. What were you thinking, Game Freak? We pick up HM Surf and Strength and head into Koga's gym. At this stage, we're at risk of turning this challenge into a solo Kadabra run as we're relying on it more and more simply because it's so overpowered. It's so overpowered that Koga's 2 Coughings and Muck go down to a single Psychic. Only Wheezing survives, and barely at that. Thankfully, in Generation 1, if you knock out a Pokemon when poisoned or burnt, you skip the status damage you would normally take. This has been happening more and more as this challenge has gone on, especially against Team Rocket's poison Pokemon. Anyway, Weezing misses its attack, and we end the battle only taking 5 HP of damage. Nice. I know I'm going to need a little bit of extra power for the Elite Four, and to try and bypass Sabrina's Pokemon, so I head to the Seafoam Islands to grab Articuno with the Master Ball we picked up from Silphco. Now we have Sabrina to contend with. A couple of Thunderbolts bring Kadabra to below half health and brings us close to fainting, but it's all for nothing as it uses Recover, bringing us pretty much back to square one. I switch to Freeze, which tanks a Psybeam as we land an Ice Beam. Phew, too many beams, which takes it out. Okay, I didn't expect it to do that much. Mr. Mime is out second, and another Ice Beam takes it out too. Venomoth survives an Ice Beam and retaliates with Psybeam. We still have over 2/3 of our health though, and another Ice Beam is enough to force Sabrina to use her final Pokemon, Alakazam. Bizarrely, it tries to use Recover, which fails obviously, as we land an Ice Beam. One more will be enough to end this, but it uses Recover successfully this time as another Ice Beam connects. On its next attack, it opts to use Psybeam instead, which we survive and attack one final time to win the Marsh Badge. How many beams? Beam, 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 beam! While exploring the mansion on Cinnabar Island, I come across another Growlithe. As it's high level, I decide to catch it and call it Ember, the second of its name, the king of fire Pokemon and the rightful heir to the TM Fire Blast. We're getting close to finishing this run and I need every extra level I can get, so I use Kindle throughout the gym. Thanks to Surf, we make quick work of the fire Pokemon, including Blaine's, Growlithe and Ponyta that do absolutely nothing as we take them out. Rapidash survives, barely, as all it can do is land a pathetic stomp before going down too. His ace in the hole is Arcanine, which attempts to use Roar twice, meaning it does absolutely nothing in this battle as we hit level 39 and claim TM 38. Ooh, let's try to get 38 likes for this challenge video. It really helps our channel to reach new people, and of course, I'd really appreciate it. Because of our high health, I'm barely noticing the burn damage in battle. It's more of an inconvenience simply because I have to watch the animation whenever we don't knock out a Pokemon in a single attack. By this point, we're one-shotting pretty much everything, so let's hope Giovanni can provide more of a challenge. Nope. His ground Pokemon stand no chance against Kindle and Surf. The battle's so ridiculously easy that we don't lose a single digit of HP to either damage or the burn. Okay, we're in serious trouble of this being a Let's Play video. Let's hope the rival and Elite Four can bump up the challenge slightly. Despite being underleveled for the most part, our team's still quite diverse, so we're able to counter each Pokemon in our rival's lineup. The only real challenge is Alakazam, which is able to survive and inflict a hefty amount of damage on our Freeze, but we comfortably win. See you in the Elite Four, third degree. And we're there. Let's increase the challenge a little and try something I can't normally do in my solo runs. So, while we can use potions in the Elite Four, we aren't allowed to use revives. Lorelei is our first opponent and will probably be the most difficult, simply because our two super effective Pokemon in the fight are underleveled. Thankfully, Dugong decides to use Rest after our first attack, so 2 more Thunderbolts knock it out while it sleeps. Our luck continues as we survive an Aurora Beam and deliver back-to-back attacks to knock out her Cloyster too. We're only level 37, but Electrical is putting in work. Slowbro wastes its turn using Withdraw, allowing us to get an easy win, but the burn damage is slowly chipping away at our health. Jinx is her 4th Pokemon, so I send in Ember the 2nd. It outspeeds and uses Thrash. We survive but miss the Fire Blast, not ideal. I switch to Freeze, hoping to outlast its Thrash. It only manages to take off about a third of our health, and that's with a crit. Foolishly, I use Fly, forgetting that we're suffering from halved attack due to burn. A combination of attacks leave us close to fainting, so I heal up, and like an idiot, go for Fly again. In my head, I thought it would do more damage than Ice Beam as Jinx resists it. We're able to slowly chip away as we both use a couple of potions to prolong the battle. Outlast is Lapras. I switch to Electrical and use a Hyper Potion, but it does nothing to prevent us fainting to a Hydro Pump. I send in Toasty and I'm simply stunned by how little its Psychic does, as we barely hang on as it uses Body Slam. We attack again, but the burn finishes us off. I send out Kindle, knowing that our Water and Ice type moves will do nothing. I use Strength, which does nothing. We're able to overcome Confusion to land a Surf, but it's not enough to end the fight as Lorelei uses a Super Potion. We continue to use Surf, and even a critical doesn't do enough damage to knock it out, but after a few turns, we're able to beat the first and probably the most difficult member of the Elite Four in this run. Bruno, as always in these challenge runs, continues to be a pushover. In fact, I think I take more damage from the burn than I do from Bruno's Pokemon. Between Kindle and Freeze, our Pokemon deliver one-hit KO moves against each of his Pokemon with the exception of Hitmonchan, and that's because I once again forgot that Fly is useless. Agatha's team puts up a bit more of a fight, but not by much. Gengar wastes its first 2 turns using Dream Eater, and only on its 3rd attack does it attack with Nightshade. Golbat isn't an issue as Ice Beam swiftly knocks it out. 3rd is Haunter, which Ice Beam freezes and crits. Agatha heals, as do I, to recover the damage we've taken from a few rounds of burn damage. Agatha switches to Arbok, and we take it out with a single critical Ice Beam. With only one of them on left, Agatha sends out Haunter again, which is powerless to do anything, but simply faint. Her final Pokemon is another Gengar, which also tries to use Dream Eater. Yeah? If you're looking at the screen now, you'll probably wonder what the heck I'm doing. I'm on autopilot at this stage. It's late, and I want to finish this challenge as I'm excited for the next one. After trying to use Ice Beam despite having no PP, I finally snap back to reality and wanting to save on Blizzard's PP, go for Peck, as Gengar confuses me and we hurt ourselves in our confusion instead. I switch back to Blizzard and I'm able to finish off Agatha. Lance is next. As Electrical has fainted, I decide to use Freeze against Gyarados. It's super effective, but it shrugs it off and retaliates with Hyper Beam, which does over half our health. Knowing that it has to recharge, I land back-to-back attacks to finish it off. Dragonair is out next, and I use my turn to heal as it uses Agility, and we take a small amount of burn damage. Thankfully, on its next turn, it uses Dragon Rage, so we're able to use Ice Beam, which knocks it out. Lance sends out his second Dragonair, so we take that out with a single Ice Beam too. Aerodactyl is out next and outspeeds us, landing as Supersonic, so we take damage from our own attack and the burn. On its next turn, it uses Hyper Beam, bringing us close to fainting. Thankfully, we shrug off the confusion, landing an Ice Beam and knocking it out. Dragonite is his final Pokemon. I can't risk this. If it outspeeds me, I'll lose Freeze, so I heal instead. Thankfully, it uses Agility. On its next turn, it uses a Hyper Beam, which we survive, meaning we're able to land an Ice Beam and win. I've really enjoyed the uniqueness of this challenge, but as I've progressed, it's certainly become easier, and being burned has become less of a factor. That's simply because I've managed to plan out my team and overcome the initial challenge by gathering a few Pokemon that rely on their special attack to overcome the gym leaders, rival, and Elite Four battles. Speaking of our rival, he's up next, so let's see if we can beat him whilst always burnt. Pidgeot is out first as always. Both our attacks are critical, but ours is able to knock it out in a single attack. Next is Alakazam. At least he's using it early. He outspeeds and lands a Starkey, bringing us to just 5 HP, meaning the burn knocks us out after we use Ice Beam. This isn't looking good, as we just lost our strongest Mon. I throw out First Degree, hoping to land a Leech Seed, but we don't even get that far as Alakazam uses Psybeam. I throw in Kindle, which loses half its health and has its special stat lowered by Psychic. Thankfully, we're able to land Hydro Pump, but it doesn't knock it out, meaning I have to heal next turn. We get lucky as it decides to use Reflect twice in a row as we land a Surf to bring it close to fainting. It uses Psychic again, bringing us to just 17 HP, but as we knock it out with Ice Beam, we don't take any burn damage. Rhydon is out next, so I switch to Ember, the second, to get a free heal on our Gyarados. I waste my turns with Roar, expecting to get knocked out, which never happens. Rhydon just wastes several turns using nonsensical moves, forcing me to switch back to Kindle to continue the fight, knocking it out with a single Surf. Out next is Executor, and while Ice Beam's super effective, it doesn't do a lot. It takes 3 attacks to make it faint, and only because one of them was a critical hit, meaning it brings our health down to a nervous amount with a couple of stomp attacks. Out next is Gyarados, so I switch to Ember the second again to heal up Kindle. This isn't looking good, I only have one more potion left. All it takes is one attack to knock out Ember. That's fine, it did what it needed to do. Gyarados' Hyper Beam hits hard, as our Ice Beam does next to nothing. It has to recharge on its next turn, so we hit it with another Ice Beam and get extremely lucky as we freeze it. As our rival doesn't use full restores or full heals in this battle, we're safe from the Gyarados. I can't risk using my final potion too early though. I wait until the burn leaves us with just 5 HP before using it. 2 more Ice Beams finish our rival's second to last Pokemon. Outlast is his Charizard. Rather fitting for a burn challenge. I expected it to use Slash, but instead it goes for Rage. Surf isn't strong enough to finish it, but I don't want to risk missing with Hydro Pump. It uses Rage again, but it doesn't do much. The final Surf finishes it off, and with that, we've managed to complete Pokemon Red while our Pokemon are always burnt. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, then click here to watch one of my solo challenge runs. If you really love this video, then you'll love my next one, so subscribe and ding that bell icon to be notified when it goes live. Until next time, remember to flex your inner geek. See ya!